On January 1, 2001, General Electric was the most valuable company on the planet. By the time it was broken into pieces in 2021, a staggering $500 billion in market capitalization had vanished into thin air. This wasn't a sudden bankruptcy or a single accounting error. It was a slow-motion demolition of an American icon. And the craziest part? The man responsible was once hailed as the manager of the century. To understand how GE fell, we have to look at the man who built its fragile foundation, Jack Welch. Welch transformed GE from a traditional manufacturing conglomerate into a financial engineering machine. Under his leadership, GE Capital became the company's engine, contributing nearly half of its annual profits. It was a beautiful narrative on Wall Street, consistent, double-digit growth that never seemed to fail. But beneath the surface, the company was gorging on cheap debt. Welch's successor, Jeff Immelt, inherited this beast, and the clock was already ticking. Immelt took the reins just 4 days before the September 11 attacks, and he arguably never found his footing. He wanted to pivot GE into a high-tech infrastructure giant, moving away from the toxic mix of finance and manufacturing. But the legacy of Neutron Jack was too heavy to carry. The pressure to meet quarterly earnings targets became a prison. The company began buying back its own stock to artificially prop up share prices, a desperate move that consumed billions that should have been invested in R&D or operational upgrades. But wait. It gets worse. While the company was pretending everything was fine, it was secretly drowning in insurance liabilities and failed acquisitions, most notably the disastrous purchase of Alstom in 2014. The deal was supposed to be the jewel in Immelt's crown, but it ended up being a massive weight that drained cash flow and invited federal investigations. As the years crawled on, the culture at GE turned toxic. The rank and yank performance review system had created a culture of fear where bad news was buried, and middle managers were incentivized to hide operational failures until they became impossible to ignore. The balance sheet became a labyrinth of off-balance sheet financing, a direct echo of the Enron era. Investors began to smell the rot when the company slashed its dividend, a move that shocked the market to its core. Then came the climax. The legendary status of GE, built over 125 years, was finally stripped away. The stock price hit levels not seen since the early 1990s. The once mighty conglomerate was downgraded to junk status in the minds of many institutional investors. Board members panicked. The leadership reshuffling became musical chairs as the stock hit an all-time low. It was no longer a matter of if the empire would fall, but how quickly it could be dismantled to save the scraps. One by one, the segments were sold off. Healthcare, aviation, and power, the pillars of the American industrial age, were cleaved apart. Today, the name General Electric still exists, but the titan that defined the 20th century is gone. It is a cautionary tale of how financial engineering, if left unchecked, will eventually consume the very business it was meant to fund. The obsession with short-term stock prices over long-term innovation created a hollow shell. They prioritized the ticker symbol over the factory floor, and in the end, the market corrected the error in the most brutal way possible. If you think this collapse was a unique anomaly in corporate history, wait until you watch our deep dive into the 2008 financial crisis, where we break down exactly how similar leverage traps brought the entire global banking system to its knees. Click the link on screen to see how the lessons from GE's fall are playing out in today's tech market.